Alright everyone, the first state has decided to begin the process of ending the drug war, and it will continue because it will work and be more popular than the alternative, and that's the state of Oregon. Now, I would have expected maybe California, Vermont, maybe like Massachusetts or something. No, Oregon, which is more of a swing state that nobody really sees is on the forefront. They're like, oh, Washington State's like, we just legalized marijuana, aren't we great? And Oregon says, hold my beer, watch this. And they're basically talking about partial decriminalization of even the hard drugs, which is what people have spoken of in terms of ending the drug war for a while. Now, it's not complete decriminalization. That's what it's being called in the media. They're saying, oh, Oregon prepares to decriminalize possession of meth and stuff. That's not what they're doing. What they're doing is saying somebody who is simply possessing a small amount of a hard drug is going to go to rehab. They're not going to go to prison. If they keep doing it, they can go to prison, if it happens multiple times. If it's a slightly higher amount, it would still be a misdemeanor, but ultimately they're trying to cure addicts, which makes sense. This is a model that should be adopted nationwide. There shouldn't even be an argument over simple possession. We can have arguments all day over the manufacture and sale of drugs, the total amount that would constitute an actual misdemeanor or felony. We can argue all day over the scheduling. But for simple possession of small amounts, it is obvious that if someone has 1 or 2 doses of methamphetamine, they're probably the ones that are using it. There's a very, very low chance that they're a dealer, because why would they fucking be dealing like $10 worth of methamphetamine? It doesn't make any sense. It's going to be kind of obvious. If they've been using the drug for a while, you're going to be able to tell that they're strong. You're going to be able to tell that they're an addict because it's going to start eating away at their flesh. You look at people who smoke crack or meth or do heroin habitually, you can sort of tell. Sorry about that, but it's kind of easy. There comes a point at which it becomes difficult to hide it. Yeah, look at Artie Lange or something like that. Who looks like he's 70. I think he's not even 50 yet. And he's looked like that for decades. Yeah, look up his story if you want to hear about some totally crazy shit. Funny dude, but the drugs really fucked him up. He got back in the hospital a few days ago. Anyway, though. Oregon, this is a half-assed approach, but it's the best we can hope for. See, the states are hesitant to go up against the federal government. The federal government wants them to throw somebody who's addicted to crack in prison for the next 10 years. That's what the federal government wants, especially with like Sessions in there and these other retard drug warriors who either don't know what they're talking about, they're talking out of their ass. They think every substance is the same, they're all moral ills, and that the drug war can actually work. You know, it hasn't for decades, but this time we'll get it right. They either don't know what they're talking about, or they know full fucking well and they're just trying to inflate the prison population. Oregon's saying, well, it's kind of costing a lot of money, probably immoral, not really working, we're going to try a different route. So people who have, like, you know, they're an addict. They've got 1 dose of heroin on them, or 2 doses of crack or something. They're going to go to rehab, and hopefully they get clean. That's what we should be doing. It's humane. It's 10 times as cheap. It works everything you can think of. The moral argument, the economic argument, everything under the sun is not helped by the drug war. The way in which we're waging it doesn't work. We tried this with alcohol and it didn't work either. We're going to prohibit people from drinking so that there aren't drunks around. Oh shit, now there are 5 times as many people who are constantly drunk because of prohibition. It happened before. We tried this. It didn't work. How many times do we have? We're trying to hammer a nail in, and we keep hitting our thumb. How many times are we going to hit our fucking thumb? How sore does it have to be before we try a different position? It doesn't make any sense. Oregon finally gets tired of it. I'm sure that they'll face some backlash from the federal government. Oh, you need to keep, the DEA says these substances are totally unsafe. You must lock them up. Who fucking cares what the federal government says about drugs? Not even they're a game. They're not even constitutionally enabled to wage a drug war. Only the states are. And even then there are constraints involved. The fact that nobody's willing to, no court's willing to take that up though, because they don't want to overhaul all of modern society, which says that drugs are invariably evil and that marijuana is basically the same as smoking meth. Now, nobody wants to take up the case to the Supreme Court, and that's really why the drug war continues. Somebody needs to fall on their own sword at some point, someone who uses drugs, and battle it all the way to the top. Because then the drug war will begin to fail. It'd be like prohibition. I don't see a constitutional amendment giving the federal government authority to prohibit these substances. Now, back 100 years ago, they realized they needed a constitutional amendment to ban alcohol. They realized it was illegal for them to go after it without a constitutional amendment then, so why did we suddenly roll over and play dead as liberty-loving people? Because it was other substances. It's the same fucking thing. People have a right to put in their bodies whatever they want. If they're not publicly intoxicated, driving under the influence, or committing some other crime, committing a crime while on a substance, in which case I guess it could be an aggravating factor regardless, just like alcohol could be. If they're not doing that, who cares? Not the government's business and not your business if somebody decides to drop acid or smoke a bong. It's not affecting you. And most of the moral haranguing about it, oh, it's degenerated, it'll like cause you to go insane, it makes you lazier. Most of that's mythology. I say this as someone who used a bunch of these substances. Now, I never touched like the meth, the heroin, the crack, and stuff like that. Never snorted coke, never took ecstasy, some of these substances that are a little more out there. I stuck with the psychedelics and I smoked weed a bit. And then illegal substance is the one that fucked me up, which is always it's the capstone of the hilarity that is the drug war. That the one substance that really screwed me up for a while there and almost took me totally out of commission was totally legal to manufacture, to sell, to buy, to take, yeah, anything you wanted under the sun. Of course, spice. There are still blends that are legal to this day. And under the Analog Act that got basically gutted, they still can't stop it. And yet they're worried someone's going to smoke a reefer. They're worried that someone's going to take a hard drug that already exists, that we know we can treat people with addiction to it. I've had people that I've known personally who have gotten clean, and it's fucking hard, but it costs a lot less to get them clean than it does to throw them in prison for extended periods. They get out and they go right back on it because they never went through rehab. Like, they're not even going to seek it. They're just going to be miserable. They're probably using in prison because you can get drugs there or in a school easier than anywhere else. It's like the places that you least want these substances to be, that's where they are. Yeah, you need your heroin fix? Just go to your local prison, I guess. Visit with Bubba. He can get you heroin, as long as you have enough cigarette cartons to trade him. That's basically the way it works. It's like a prison economy is basically cigarettes and off-hook liquor and drugs. It's basic. That's sexual favors. It's basically what it is. Hey, sneak in the real doll next time, why don't you? Yeah, I'm appreciative that you hid the hacksaw in the cake, but I would have preferred some sort of vibrating thing here, I think. Or something along those lines. Hey, next time, lace the icing with LSD. It's basically what Bubba wants. Drug war has failed totally. To the point most Americans realize this. Like, most Americans still want to keep, like, the crack and the meth and stuff illegal. If they realized that it's basically the same for that as it is for marijuana or any other substance, like, you should get someone rehab if they're an addict. If they're dealing, okay, that's a different issue. That's like a small minority of the people that actually are ever picked up on drug-related charges. Most of the time, it's simple possession. Now, some states take a merciful tone up, and they'll slap you on the wrist. Like, even before decriminalization here in Vermont, usually if someone had like a couple of grams of weed, the cops would just confiscate it. They wouldn't even write them up. Or they'd give them a simple fine. They'd say, okay, well, you know, disorderly conduct, something like that. Public intoxication, okay, come here overnight, $50 fine, few hours of community service. Not going to put it on your record, nobody cares. Other states, though, don't do this, and in those states, the drug problem is worse. Now, the opioid epidemic is what's really killing people right now, and nobody wants to talk about that because the painkillers were legal when they were prescribed. And, of course, we fucked up Afghanistan, so now the price of heroin is a lot cheaper because, you know, those poppy fields, they went up left and right, basically, once the moralists that were there before, once they got forced out, Taliban came in and said, cha-ching, yeah, we're going to capitalize upon this bitch. And now there's heroin everywhere. Russia's got a heroin problem. Afghanistan, a quarter of the population is addicted to some form of opiate. It's a worldwide issue. This isn't just the United States, but we can help to at least soften the problem here by getting people fucking treatment. And that drug trade props up so much violence in other countries too. It's not, again, it's not just here, it's trans-border. All these Mexican cartels that kill 10,000, 20,000 people. in a short span of time. They're empowered by the drug war here. That's where their primary clientele are people who want to snort coke and smoke weed in the United States. Why don't we just grow it here and cut off the cartels? Wouldn't that be easier? They don't sell the drugs so much in Mexico. There's a much larger population of drug users right here. The drug war has made more addicts. The drug war makes it easy to become addicted. Look, if we hadn't had a drug war, doctors decades ago would have been prescribing marijuana to people instead of opiates anyway for most reasons. That means they wouldn't be addicts. They might get habituated and eat too many Twinkies. Okay, maybe you have a more obesity epidemic. All things considered, I'd think it'd be better than what you have now with people. You know, some of these people, they're teenagers, they're crushing up painkillers and snorting them in some alley somewhere. Yeah, I would think it'd be good to get them into rehab. If they get picked up for simple possession, the proper thing to do is mandatory rehab. Get them clean, try to get them, if they need job skills, if they need a GED, something to fill the gap in their life that they're trying to fill, fund it. It's a lot cheaper than throwing them in fucking prison. You know how much it costs to throw them in prison? 50, 60 grand a year. You know how much it costs to give them rehab? It's not 50, 60 grand a year. Because you don't need all the guards, and you don't need all the high security bullshit, and you don't need the mandatory daily cavity search, legalized rape bullshit and all that stuff. You don't need it. It's not necessary. They're in rehab. Hopefully you're getting them clean. More of a residential facility. It does work. It's been done before. Some states already do it. It works. It's better than the alternative. I wish we did more of it here in this state. We could cut the amount that we spend on this bullcrap if we just stop sending people to Kentucky for 52 grand a year, throw them in prison there. Why don't we keep them here and build rehab facilities? Some not in my backyard bullcrap artists will say, I don't want a rehab facility around me because there'll be addicts there. Guess what? There's already addicts in your neighborhood. Even you live in a nice neighborhood, somebody around you is addicted to painkillers. Trust me, they are. Right now they seem respectable, but if they don't get their pills, they're going to be all sorts of fucked up. Get them into rehab, you won't have that problem. So when your TV gets stolen, it'll be because you're a not in my backyard motherfucker. That's essentially the truth of the matter. And you're the one paying through the nose. You worry about the state taxes in Vermont being high. And then you want to keep sending people off to another fucking state because our own government's incompetent to pay 52 grand a year to imprison them for long periods. Sometimes for minor crimes. Or things that shouldn't even be crimes. Oh, yeah, he had an ounce and a gram of marijuana instead of under an ounce, therefore dealing drugs. That's not the way that it works. Bullshit. Yeah, nonsense. Then our own evil retard of a governor won't even legalize marijuana here. Despite the fact that the people, the House, and the Senate all agree that it's a good idea and the courts don't have a problem with it. But the governor says, no, it might cause too much use. Who cares if people smoke weed? Better for them than snorting the painkillers. That's exactly what you're going to have if you don't stop the war on pot here and divert those funds to treating people who are actually addicted. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have more addiction. But Phil Scott's too dumb to realize that. He's an idiot. Yeah, he's a one-termer too, thankfully. He's not going to be able to run the next time around successfully. Somebody will go up against him and stop him. I would even vote for a liberal Democrat at this point just to get him out of office, as long as they're not, like Sue Minter was basically a Bloomberg anti-Second Amendment candidate. That was like her niche audience. Oh, gun crime in Vermont, as though there is much of it. We're going to eliminate that by having all sorts of restrictions. The one silver bullet against becoming the governor is basically you argued for gun control in the state of Vermont. It's not a great idea. So next time, the Democrats, hopefully next time, will get a sane candidate. Or another Republican will run against Phil Scott for the ability to run, and he'll resign or something. He'll step back and let somebody else. Like, I wanted Listman to be the candidate. Listman would have done a better job than Phil Scott. And Listman is basically a neocon still, too. Phil Scott's not even that. I don't even know what he is. He's just pro-government, I guess is what you would say. But yeah, Oregon's trying to at least make some inroads on ending the drug war. Good, it'll work. And when it shows that it works, when it costs a little bit less to police things, when they have a little bit less addiction, people will want to amplify the program that they're implementing now. And it will work even better. And then eventually someone will get the bright idea, oh, what if we just end the drug war entirely? And then there you've got your solution. But unfortunately, you have to segue slowly into such things. We're barely getting like marijuana decriminalized in a bunch of states. It's really slow process. It's been a decade in coming. That's about all. Peace out.